another level in all my endeavors, and Eileen will help me a lot, and all of you, and thank you very much.
I don't want to pick on anybody, so I'm not going to look, but if you'd like to share anything.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kainisa. I'm a member of the North Riding Club. I happen to have a free Saturday today, and then I thought, let me go check what I can learn at the Bouncy Breakfast Club. I hope my expectations will be met.
Wonderful. Welcome. Thank you. A very special welcome to Maud, who is our area director for the area that we're in, which is H2. Welcome, Maud. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Maud is very supportive throughout the year, but is here to support us in person and share some very useful insights. So thank you for being here with us. Thanks. Right, before we move on, just an admin note. In front of you, you will see 4 pieces of white square paper. These are the voting slips. So best speaker, you'll write best speaker at the top and the person's name at the time. The same with table topics. Not evaluated, we're not doing that today. And the other one, we have this wonderful award that friends from Centurion gave us earlier this year, which is the Mug of the Day Award. For those who don't know what this is, throughout the meeting, please keep notes on a single piece of paper about things that people have done that are funny, hilarious, silly, daft, and we will award the Mug of the Day to someone later. We don't have educational achievements to acknowledge today, and nor do we have anybody to induct, but I would like to just make mention of Jan and David, who will be inducted in January as new members of our club. We're very happy to have you, thank you. And there are also a couple of other new members who are in our pipeline, so watch this space. I'm representing Mandy, our VPE today. We don't have any program changes unless I've overlooked anything. Anybody else is aware of it?
It is one.
Yes.
Abrina's speech title has changed.
Ah, thank you.
The speech title was productivity, and it's now financial.
Literacy.
Financial. Sorry, I'm just getting that.
Literacy.
Literacy. Financial literacy. There we go.
Thank you. Okay, before we call on our Toastmaster for the day, I'd like to invite Hugo up to the front. He is going to do our toast. Oh man. For anybody who doesn't want to partake in the champagne, we've got fruit juice or grape cider, so just let me know.
Not taking champagne yet. You taking juice. Anybody not taking champagne?
Yeah.
Juice.
Not. I'll grab you some now.
Anybody else for juice instead of champagne?
I won't judge you.
champagne.
Either one. The grape tiger. If it's whatever.
You have some
Coming.
Where is our grape taser?
Behind it.
Oh,
You're having juice instead?
I like too much music there, go to the car.
You vodka.
Go down a little bit.
I'll believe you. I think we've got juice for 2 more people if anybody wants juice. And then champagne.
Champagne at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, all glasses charged? Yes.
Everybody's got some?
I got champagne.
Okay. That's
Who hasn't got yet? Adrian, you're sitting here.
Got a visitor on the glass.
Okay.
It's got a visitor on the
Oh,
glass.
that's nice. There you go. Got that. Okay, cool.
Oh, okay. I thought there should be somebody's. Oh, he's cute. Yeah. Somebody like you.
Yeah, sure. It's a baby one too.
There you go.
Okay, I'm ready.
A few months ago, I had the pleasure of visiting this club. And immediately met the lovely Mandy when I went there. Blown away by our supermodel, Renee. Befriended Jan. And we've had the pleasure of making some money together. Many a time, listened to Ewan and his tales. Was accosted by Harold, who said to me I was terribly confident for a first timer. And I've always enjoyed the direction and leadership of the president. So today, ladies and gentlemen, propose a toast. If you'd like to, please stand to your feet. To friendships like these.
To friendship.
To friendship.
Friendship. Yes.
And a safe passage to 2020.
Oh, so lovely.
Well done, thank you. Oh, there we are.
Yes, yes, yes. Here's your guy. Cheers.
You saw Linda the eye contact. Oh,
Another one.
Hey, Coach. Here you go. Cheers.
Cheers.
thank you, Hugo. Special words. Right, no further ado, I'd like to welcome our Toastmaster for today, Hugo Mayberg. Hugo. Sorry.
It's not a bad thing to have
It's
baby fits in a
interesting
woman.
there's just
Strange
one
gifts.
sip,
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. There is only one sip, chick.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
My name is Hugo, Kobus. I am your Toastmaster for the day, which means I'm the monster of ceremonies, and I hope that all of you had a chance to give your incisors a chance to work incisively on our breakfast. Or, come on, that was corny, come on.
Well done.
But I enjoy it.
Before I get to our theme, I just want to mention a few things. First, we all have reason to be immensely grateful for things that happened this year, and I just want to touch on that point a bit. We had some lowlights, of course, during the course of the year, like our pointsmen and pointswomen that suddenly disappeared in September. I'm sure all of us felt it in the traffic. Many of the state-owned enterprises had to get some more bailouts, and of course load shedding for the second time this year. But besides those bad things, we had a lot of good things happening. We won the Rugby World Cup. That makes us third-time winners. Only one other nation could do that, and that was New Zealand. Now, consider that just 18 months before that, we were 6th in the world in rugby. After we always used to be a force to be reckoned with, we were 6th in the world. We were really down in dumps, and our friend Rassie and his team and his captain and his coaching staff, everybody, they made the difference for us. With the said state capture things we've had, there are some court cases looming, so yes, there will be some justice there, I hope. And one last thing that nobody really thinks of is that everybody complains about crime, and while it is a serious factor, we have a 10-year decline in crime in South Africa. Every year by year, it's gone down, which is wonderful. For our club, we had several highlights. We became a distinguished club for 2019 under our leadership of Lynn, our president, and the rest of the committee. Our club has grown quite a bit this year, and many of our members embraced the Pathways learning program, which is very encouraging to see. Given the circumstances, you all would have noticed that your program is a rather small piece of paper today. And our theme is called Strange Gifts, as I've said to you. Well, I don't think I've said that. Anyways, our theme is Strange Gifts. Now, I am giving my own personal strange gift to Mother Nature. So I am just saying I didn't plan properly, by the way, in other words, because I ran out of paper. But hey, it works. Our president is also acting VPE for the day. Lynn, we addressed program changes, so we don't have any of those, right? I want to just quickly tell us a little joke here. So right after we won the World Cup, Uncle Cyril apparently called up Rassie Erasmus. This was the conversation that ensued. Mr. President, hello Rassie, how are you? Mr. President, I'm ecstatic. I'm still coming down from the high of back in the World Cup. How are you? Rassie, I am well. Besides, for the Eskom crisis we are experiencing. Our rugby heroes have served the country well over the years. First Francois and his team winning it for us in 1995. Then Jake and his team in 2007, and finally you and your team in 2019. Well, I'm glad we could contribute to the country in some small way, Mr. President. Is there something I can do for you, sir? Rassie, my friend, what do you know about electricity provisioning? I am going to just ask once more because I know it's been addressed before, but please, if you haven't switched off your cell phone or put it on silent, please do so now. I would also then like to invite our role players for the day to please tell us a little bit about your roles. Our grammarian is Onika. Onika, would you please tell us a bit about your role?
So, Mr. Toastmaster Hugo Kovas, my role as a grammarian is to pay close attention to all speakers by listening carefully to their language usage. I will take note of any misuse of the English language as well as outstanding usage. The word of the day is incisive, which means intelligently analytical and clear thinking, or quick and direct. Each speaker is encouraged to use the word of the day. I would like us to share the table twice if we hear someone use incisive like this.
Nice.
And well done, Mr. Toastmasters, for using it so far. I will give the word of the day report and the grammatical usage report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Our counter for today is Hamza. Hamza, please explain the role to us.
The role of our counter is to note words and sounds used as pause fillers by anyone who speaks during the meeting, such as you know. Thank you.
Our table topics master, Hugo, or shall we call him Quirvis today?
Not pretty enough to be called Purvis.
Ooh. Will you please tell us a bit about your role today?
Thank you, Toastmaster. My role today is that of Table Topics Master. I will present to you a topic of sorts. You will have anything between 60 and 120 seconds to speak on that topic. It essentially is an opportunity for you to test your impromptu skills. Thank you.
Our timekeeper is Lynn Loggy. Please, Lynn, will you tell us a bit about your role?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My role as timekeeper is to monitor and report on those areas of the program that have a time limit. Specifically the speakers. All three of them have 5 to 7 minutes. We are using our cards today again. At 5, you will see green. At 6 minutes, you will see the yellow. And at 7, you will see the red. Table topics have 1 to 2 minutes. So at 1, you will see green. At 1:30, yellow. And at 2, red. And we're not timing evaluations today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. In most cultures nowadays, festive season has got gifts as a large component of the festive season. And therefore I thought our meeting would be about strange gifts. To start us off with, it has recently become popular in Europe and America, but it seems to have originated in Africa. We are good like that. Real insect necklaces. Ladies and gentlemen, people are making necklaces of real insects, and they are making a fortune out of it nowadays. On a similar note, you can also find sugary lollipops with a nice crunchy insect inside for you. Once you sucked off all the nice sweet sugar, you can end it off with that nice crunchy scorpion or mopani worm. Delicious, yes? No? Yes? Speak for yourself, okay. With that, it's time for our prepared speaking session.
I will go.
Our first speaker is Abrina. Where is Abrina? Where is she? Where is Abrina? There she is. There you go. Abrina is doing a third speech from the Innovative Planning Pathways Level 1 Manual. Abrina goes by the names of Abrina, Abrins, Abrinzi, and Sabrina without the S. She describes herself as a very shy, timid, reserved lady with few words. And then she adds onto the end of that sentence, not today. She further describes herself as an introverted extrovert, or an antisocial extrovert, or an outgoing introvert, or an ambivert. She says that she is really here with us at Toastmasters to figure out that conundrum. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sabrina without an S with a speech titled Financial Literacy. Financial Literacy, Sabrina without an S.
According to the Credit Bureau Monitor by the National Credit Regulator, as at end of March 2019, the number of accounts held by credit-active consumers increased from 80.9 million to 80.10 million. Well, that's not such a big increase, you may say. My point is, as at yesterday, according to UN data, the current population of South Africa is 58.8 million. Of the 58.8 million, only 25.8 million are credit-active consumers. That means that 80.10 million accounts belong to the 25.8 million, which is scary. Of the 80.4 million accounts I mentioned earlier, 21.5 million are impaired. That means they are either 3 or more payments in arrears, or they've got an adverse listing, or there is a judgment attached to one of those accounts. To be honest, 3 or 4 of my accounts are included in that stats. Which is why I'm investing my time and energy in learning about the important subject of financial literacy. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests, what is financial literacy? Financial literacy is an awareness of how to use money and how to manage it to ensure that you've got financial security currently and in the future. It is a skill that will ensure that you are incisive with your finances. I'm sure we can all agree that money is an essential tool. Therefore, it is important that we fully comprehend it and fully respect it. Personally, I have this thing that I do with money. I talk to money. I withdraw it and have a conversation with money. Before I spend the money, I take 100 rands or 200 rand notes. That's my preference. I do not talk to coins. So I speak to my 100 rand or my 200 rand note, and I tell it we are in a relationship. I need more of it, and I tell it that it needs more of me, so it must come back. I know that it is leaving, but it must always remember to come back, unlike some men. And when it does come back, it must bring its mother, its father, its siblings, its cousins, its grandparents. They are all welcome. I'm going to share with you the reasons why financial literacy is important to everyone. It helps us understand the value of money, and that speaks to the budget and the savings component of money. By budgeting and saving, you are ensuring that you will have a financial secure future. Just FYI, budgeting is applicable in December. So please remember that January is just next month. Let's not have a convenient amnesia. Let's continue to budget because it must be a consistent habit. Number 2, it allows us to impart our knowledge to the young generation. Creating generational wealth should be the key objective for everyone. For me, I've got a 6-year-old who is busy losing teeth because that's the stage that they're in. And her comprehension of financial literacy is the tooth fairy. So I still have a long way to go in terms of educating her. And we'll start with, who is this tooth fairy? But empower yourself so that you can empower your kids, empower the people that are in your world. The third reason why you should acquire financial literacy is it saves us from acquiring unnecessary debt. A lot of people, based on the stats that I said, are in debt, unnecessarily so. So let's educate ourselves in terms of finances. The last reason that I will mention, and there are many more, but I chose 4, it allows us to help boost our economy by being contributors and problem solvers instead of being a burden to the economy and to our family members. So I urge all of you to acquire the financial literacy skill. My last tip before I sit down: in coping with the silly season, I've got a secret that has been kept for a very long time. Santa is not real. It is all a scam. Do not fall for it. Do not be a part of the statistics that will be issued in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. Or shall I say Sabrina without this? Budgeting, as Sabrina just said, is very, very important, and I think it's a very good point that she made, that we should not lapse our routine of budgeting over this festive period. Thank you for that information. How do you guys feel about privacy? Anybody with very strong feelings against or for it? Anybody?
Yeah.
Is it for or against, Johan?
For privacy, yeah.
For privacy.
I'm a very private person.
Great. It's very difficult to have a private life nowadays with internet and all those kind of things, but I'm glad you can manage.
Well, I haven't got that. I'm still learning how to use the sundial.
So for those of you who feel like Johan does about privacy, what would you think of having a phone privacy mask? It looks like a headphone. If you hang it over the edge of your computer screen, it just looks like a normal headphone. But except going over your ears, it goes over your mouth, like this. It prevents people from reading your lips when you're on the phone. It also blocks sound out from outside in, and it prevents your sound from inside going out. Then it hooks up to your headphones, your normal earbuds, and you can have an absolute private conversation where you are totally safe from the government, from aliens, from fellow people on the streets.
And you can talk to yourself.
And you can talk to yourself, and people will just think you're weird, and nobody cares anyway. So that's another strange gift that we can put on everybody's Christmas list if they're very serious about privacy. I hope that our next speaker, Johan, is not wearing one of those, but since he's still learning how to use a sundial, we can be safe assured it isn't. Because if he was, he'd be looking like Geordie from Star Trek that had a little too much to drink.
Thank you.
My apologies. It's actually not Johan speaking.
No, I thought so.
Sorry, it is Adrian. My apologies. Adrian is speaking from the Pathways Level 2 Manual, Innovative Planning, Speech 1, Learning Leadership. Adrian has a keen interest in mathematical modeling. In the past, he has enlightened us with several speeches, and today will be no exception. He has a way to keep us listening to the end of his speech, and judged by his speech title, today will be no different. We could all cram in another learning session. The year has not been long enough. Bring it on. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Adrian with his speech title, Learning Leadership. Learning Leadership, Adrian.
Now, one of the strange gifts that I'm very grateful for is understand equations, as we heard there. I love equations. And I thought I'd wear this T-shirt here. This beautiful equation here is basically all about electromagnetism, all in a nutshell. So when you switch on your TV, you play with your phones, it's all electromagnetism that's at work there. And on the back, another great hero of mine, by the way, that was James Clerk Maxwell who did that thing there. Albert Einstein was the other guy that I admired there. And that's basically general relativity in a nutshell. Isn't that exciting? Now, my talk, I want to try and be incisive in my talk. Oh yeah, quick and direct. Okay, that's one of the things there, which I'll try and keep to my time now. Now, people say, or some people say that leaders are born, and some people say that leaders are made. But in a big survey that was done amongst great executives around the world, top executives, there were about 360 of them who had to make a decision as to whether its leadership is born or it's made. And out of the 360, I think it was something like those who said it was born was 70, I think. Those who said it was made was in the majority, and the balance. So in other words, it's a little bit, it's one way or the other. And in a nutshell, this is my if you want to be a leader, there's only three things you have to worry about. Your styles, autocratic, dedicative, and democratic. And somewhere in that band there, you can go out in the different directions, and then you're the perfect leader. That's in a nutshell. But what I want to talk about is people that have influenced me personally. One person I know very well, or knew very well, unfortunately passed away beginning of this year. His name is Philip Lloyd. He was my first boss, after I finished my PhD and started work. And he was the director of what was called the Metallurgy Laboratory of the Chamber of Mines Research Organization. He was some character, I must admit there. Let me tell you a little bit about him, because he certainly had a huge influence on my thinking. He's got several PhDs. 1 week after I joined, he took me up into the mountains, the Maluti Mountains, where he had set up a ski lodge, and he was the one who introduced snowmaking to the Maluti Mountains. Anybody gone skiing in the Maluti Mountains by any chance? Nobody. Well, you're really missing out there. Now, the other thing that he was very good at, he was the first guy to compete in South Africa, to compete in the Monte Carlo rally. But there were so many things that I really loved about his style there. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, he was a part of the team on climate change that won a Nobel Prize. But he didn't get along all that well because he turned out to be a climate skeptic. And he argued that if you go back billions of years before we Homo sapiens started to mess things up, there had been cycles of global warming, and we know all about the ice ages as well. So he's got upset with some of his fellow team members on that Nobel Prize story there. But I really enjoyed it. We always had parties and things going on, brewing beer after we finished work and stuff like that. But he had great ideas, and one of the ideas that got us all fired up was in mining, where you go underground, you dig holes, you produce far more waste rock than reef, and you bring it up to the surface. And he had this idea, and we had a plan of action to implement it, to go underground and basically do all the processing underground. You don't want to hoist 60% of your rock to the surface, which contains nothing. So we had to develop this underground process. We did a lot of pilot scale test work. And we got to the point where we were actually putting mills underground, a rock mill underground there. We had a lot of fun indeed doing that. Unfortunately, they still do it the same old well. Drill holes, blast the rock to smithereens, take all the waste up, and then they get their tailings, they put it underground. So he had these wonderful ideas, and we had a lot of fun developing those ideas. So that's Philip Lloyd, had this big impact on my lifestyle. What else did he do besides the Monte Carlo? He didn't know whether to be an organist. He was a great musician by all accounts. He opened up a lot of climbs in the Drakensberg. So the point I'm trying to get at here, rather than looking at pieces of paper like that, reflect on what you've learned from direct experience from people. And so that's the one guy that really got me worked up. My other love was when I was studying physics, fundamental physics, was a chap by the name of Richard Feynman. Anyone heard of Richard Feynman? No, he was a brilliant guy. If you go and look for Richard Feynman on the YouTube, you find some quite exciting things. He loved to teach. He really did love to teach. And in the 1960s, when I was an undergraduate, he came out with 3 volumes of lectures in physics, which you can download today. All those complicated things about this and that, he could put down in a nutshell, explain things in very simple terms. And one of the illustrations of his leadership was when they were trying to, in a Manhattan Project, and they were actually doing calculations. He came to lead a couple of operators there.
Sorry.
At least these operators operate computers, and it took them 9 months to do 3 tasks. When he did the work and led them, they did 9 tasks in 3 months. So that's it in a nutshell. If you want to learn, then join Toastmasters, because there's so many people here that are leaders, not only within Toastmaster, but also in industry and commerce. So that's what I think is more important than things like that. People. Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Star film envelopes. Sometimes you want to give someone the moon and the stars. Now there are companies that manufacture envelopes treated with some sort of a reflective material, probably phosphorus or something. I don't think they will divulge their secret, but it's something like that, that presents an accurate view of the sky from a specific vantage point, a specific time of the year. This is ideal for star-crossed lovers who have long-distance relationships, let's say one in America and one in Europe, and they can send each other a star-filled envelope of where they would be sitting at a certain location while they were missing each other. How sweet. It apparently looks just like the real McCoy. And being able to see what your missing counterpart sees on the other side of the world will really make you feel closer to that person at that time. I think it's a pretty novel idea, but I'm not sure I'm willing to pay money for that, are you? Before we go on, I just want to bring up something we missed out. Our area director, Maud, wanted to say something. We had a speech for 5 to 7 minutes, I think. Grace? Maud, are you ready for your presentation? Sorry, where's Maud now? Is it, yeah? Yes.
We thought we would do it after the break.
After. Okay, did you notice that, or did I just miss you?
No, actually I should have introduced you, it was my bad.
Okay, so you're going to do it afterwards? Okay, alright. Then we can go ahead. Let me now just find my place again. I got myself a bit out of whack here. Here we go. Luminol spray. We all think that this is something that belongs in TV shows like CSI or NCIS, or those kind of shows with acronyms. The times are changing. People are getting weirder and weirder by the minute. You can now buy luminol spray for your friends. For those of you who don't know what luminol spray is, it's a spray that highlights body fluids like blood or that kind of thing in ultraviolet light. So, why don't you surprise one of your friends nowadays, one of your weirdo friends, and give them a bottle of luminol spray so that they can check what's going on in their homes under ultraviolet light. You'll get bonus points if you include the ultraviolet light. But they might not thank you. Our next speaker, Johan, is doing a speech from the Engaging Humour Pathways Manual. Johan?
Yeah. Not pathways.
Not pathways?
No.
Okay, not pathways. Okay, okay, Humorously Speaking Manual. Perfect. In high school, Johan wanted to play rugby. But he says he was too skinny and not fast enough. He took up cycle racing. Oh boy. What juice have you used this time, Lance? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Johan with his speech titled Performance Enhancing Juice. Performance Enhancing Juice, Johan.
As Quipper said, when I eventually got to high school, that was a bit of a battle to start with. I'd really have liked to have played rugby, to have been one of the, what did they call them, one of the big guys. But I was built like a matchstick man. One hard tackle and I'd have fallen to pieces. Also, I couldn't run very fast. I could run all day, but I didn't have speed. So I did the next best thing. I took up cycle racing. Mr. Toastmaster, instead of bothering with rugby, as I said, I took up cycle racing. I joined a very small cycle club here in the northern suburbs. We were called Northern Wheelers. All the members were juniors. In other words, no one was over 20 years of age. All the big clubs, the powerful cycle clubs, were all in the southern suburbs, Rand Roads, Southern Polytechnic, Belgravia, and they had lots of Springbok cyclists in their clubs. And here we were, they used to sort of look down on us, despise us, because we were so small. Anyway, we had lots of fun. What we'd think nothing of riding down to Alberton on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon at least, to take part in either a 25 or 30 mile race, ride back to Northcliffe, and then Sunday morning we would take part in a club race, also anything between 15 miles and 30 miles. Now, equipment was another thing. Cycle racing today, I think an entry-level racing bike will cost you a minimum of 40,000 Rand. I started off with a Rally Sports, which my dad bought me as a means to get to school, not as a luxury. But gradually I changed this, I converted it into a racing bike. First of all, the mud guards came off. That didn't please my dad. Then the rubber pedals came off, and I replaced the rubber pedals with steel rat trap pedals and toe clips. I eventually put Hurrit gears on it, derailleur gears. Can you imagine? 3-speed. Wow. Now I was getting there, it was starting to look like a racing bike. And I was saving up like mad to get a proper racing bike. There's a company in Johannesburg, two old characters, Deal and Huth, and they used to build bicycles. And I saved up, and then my dad said, he realized how serious I was about cycle racing. So he sort of sponsored me. And I eventually got a deal and hoof mare built to suit my frame, my size. It was made out of Reynolds 531 tubing, which was ultralight tubing that they used in the aircraft industry for light aircraft. And believe it or not, I had 8 speed gears on this. Wow. Now it's getting places. So there I was now. I was one of the main mono in our club with my deal and tooth bike. We had one character in the club. He was older than the rest of us, and he's the villain in the story, Albert. Now, Albert is 80-something. He lives in Perth. I talk to him nearly every week, and he's still riding his bike. I can just imagine fighting with all the motorists. That's just the way he is. And Albert had an idea. As I said, we were juniors. We were very naive. We knew nothing about steroids and those other drugs. So Albert sat there and thinking he was going to concoct something which he'd give to some of his friends in our club. He'd take a sip of this stuff and then you'd fly like a rocket. So what he did, he got a whole lot of packets of glucose and he boiled them up until it was like syrup. Nice sticky stuff. To that he added a large quantity of black coffee. So now, it wasn't just syrup, it looked like road tar, it had the same consistency of road tar. I wouldn't know what it tasted like. So the one day, Albert also, he was a spoiled little rich boy. He had only the best bicycles from Europe and Italy. He also had the only one of us in the club, and I think the only 2 of us still alive today, he had sports cars, beautiful sports cars. So what Albert did, he filled a whole lot of cycling flasks with this goo. He put these flasks in a cardboard box on the floor of his car, and his father sat next to him. And what he intended to do is to come up next to a rider. His father would pass an uncorked bottle or flask to the rider and the chap would take a swig. Now we came across a character called John Grosset, who was always yelling for water. And John was yelling for water. So they passed him a bottle. Instead of drinking it, he poured it over his head. And he immediately changed complexion. He went black. His hair was standing up in spikes. And he was stuck to his bike, touching himself to see why he wasn't getting dry, and he was getting stuck to the handlebars. Anyway, eventually he flew as he had never flown in his life before, that bike. I did think he had have ridden if he had taken a sip of this. But when he got to the finishing line, he was stuck to the bike. He couldn't get off. Managed to get his feet out of the toe clips and onto the ground, but he was stuck there. Eventually he managed to pull himself away, and they said there was a ripping sound, like Velcro being pulled apart. And there he was on the saddle with still bits of his cycling shorts there, Mr. Toastmaster.
A story of some sort where the bully got slim vang sy baas, like they say in Afrikaans, slim vang sy baas. Gordon Brown once took the time, and because he took the time, it wasn't very incisive, but he took the time
and thought of a thoughtful gift for the former President of the United States, Barack Obama. He hit it out of the park with a pen holder fashioned from the lumber of a Victorian anti-slavery ship. Barack was apparently not very impressed with that. Presenting his British counterpart with a blockbuster bargain bin of DVDs. Even worse, these DVDs were Region 1 DVDs. They weren't even playing across the pond. May we please have the timekeeper's report for the speeches, Madam Timekeeper?
Certainly. Abrina, her time was 6 minutes and 20 seconds. Adrian, 7:40. And Johan, 7:04. 7:04. Thank you.
It's time for a little break, but we're quite ahead of time. So if anybody could quickly just vote for the best speech for the morning, please. And our sergeant will collect from you. We do not have an official evaluation session today, so the program mentions that the evaluators will convene in the break. It's a round robin. Yeah, it's a round robin today. So I think we're going to have a little bit of a break if you want to think about the speeches for the day, of the morning, so that we can all go through our round robin evaluation when we reconvene. We will take a start at one end of the room and everybody will just say something about each of the speeches. And Harold, our evaluation chair, will facilitate that. And we'll go from side to side. So Harold will take a full. But for now, let's have a break and maybe have a few more snacks or breakfast if you don't have any, something to drink. I suggest we break until, say, 20 to 11. Anybody's got a problem with that? 20 to 11? Perfect.
Annika, come and see me in my office. Come and see my office. You bring me
So before I do this on a point and stuff,
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the break. Maybe had a few more snacks, a few more drinks. I see we still have a little bit of champagne here.
Yeah.
So please don't be shy. You've had plenty of champagne and you're not going anywhere after here, so have some more, please. Our table topics master is not here yet. I assume Harold's going to do it for you. I am going to start.
No, I think I'm going to be drinking.
I'm going to tell you a bit more about strange gifts. All of you might have heard of Lady Liberty.
Oh yeah.
Or known as the Statue of Liberty, for those who don't know Lady Liberty. It is as the most American thing you can ever think of. Besides maybe the lax gun laws and, you know, bald eagles. But strangely enough, it is actually not American.
No, French.
It was given to the Americans by the French after the alliance during the American Revolution. It was completed in Paris in 1886 and somehow packed into 214 crates before being shipped to the USA, where it was assembled to where we know where it stands today in New York. I think it's New York.
Yeah.
With our Table Topics Master back in action, it's time for our Table Topics session. Hugo, may I please call you to the front to entertain us for a bit.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning once again.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. I'm looking for a few volunteers. I presume I have a little bit more than 10 minutes, Madam President.
You got more than that. You got about 15.
Perfect.
That's one thing they taught us in the army, never volunteer.
I have one volunteer, Anay, thank you very much. I'm looking for 4 more volunteers before I volunteer people. Lucas, thank you very much. Another 3, Busi, thank you.
Yay.
Yay. 2 more, please. Artie, thank you very much.
Jan is demanding to go on as well.
David.
He's
David.
insisting. David. Some tough
Well done,
competition.
David.
Excellent. So this is going to be really, really simple. I will give you a statement or a phrase or a very short scenario, and I would then like you to play it out over anything between 60 and 120 seconds, starting with Anay, if you'd like to come up, please. It was the night before Christmas. Anay? Anay, it was the night before Christmas.
It was the night before Christmas. All the gifts have been neatly wrapped under the tree. As I take a look at my neatly presented gift, I've noticed that the wrapping has been moved. Has someone been taking a peek at gifts? As I look around the room, I can see one table, one chair has a missing person. As I go and look for this missing person, I found the missing gift. This gift was to my 10-year-old doggy called Toby. I bought him a Kong educational toy, and this little boy thought the toy belonged to him. As he so lovingly played with his Kong educational toy, I said, "Very Merry Christmas."
Well, I presume nobody's going to need the...
No.
Martin, please come up.
I know where you live.
Martin Moore, this is pretty simple. How the fir tree became the Christmas tree.
Oh, that's a brilliant one. Because I realized a long time ago, in the 1500s, when everybody was gathering around this amazing collection of trees, they were trying to get kids to eat broccoli and cauliflower, but they did not know how to do it. And somebody came up with the most innovative idea of how to recreate this in the most magical way possible. And they said to these kids that the broccoli was the green tree and that the cauliflower was just a beautiful tree that got snowed on. So we had the snowy trees and the green trees. And then when you look at how the fir tree became the Christmas tree, they were trying to work out, how do we save all of these beautiful pine cones? And nobody knew or understood how to do it. And so the young kids who worked out the magical side of eating vegetables realized, whoa, we love these pine cones and they're so incredible. How about we call them the fir tree? Because when you look at it, they are beautiful, beautiful, furry bears that love to climb up these fir trees. And they said, okay, if teddy bears like it and teddy bears are furry, then this can be our Christmas tree. And when it snows, it has got the most incredible magical array around it. And that is how you got the fir tree.
So about the magical fir trees, I have to admit, I must state right at the outset that Artie had no insight into what she was going to talk about today. Just her brilliance. Well done. Pussy. Sort of hope it's not a baptism of fire. But I'd never played Father Christmas before. Pussy.
They'd made an advertisement of the type of person that they wanted for this role, and I had nothing to do that year, and I thought, oh, why not? I'll take this up, and then I did, and I actually did not expect that they would give me the thumbs up, and they'll actually choose me to entertain the kids. And here am I rock up, and I'm by the gate, I ring the bell, and an old burly man comes up with a beard, and he said, and he asked me, what you looking for? And I say, I've got an appointment. And he asks me again, with who? And I tell him there was actually an advertisement, and they were looking for someone to play Father Christmas. And he says, oh, come in. And then I come in, and then as I go in, they look at me, scrawny, skinny, say, can you do this? And then I say, yes, I'll do this. But I think that man who met me by the gate will do a better job.
David, you're up next. David, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't believe in miracles until.
You know, this life is very strange because you spend quite a good part of your life striving to achieve and to become a success in life. And you get to your 60s and you're beginning to give up because you've been, you know, going all over the place, talking to so many people, attending so many events, workshops, reading so many books, but nothing seems to be happening. And then you discover a statement. And you say to yourself, well, this statement is something I would have wanted to be happening in my life. I would have wanted to be saying this every day, and hopefully by the time I got to where I am now in my 60s, I would have, something would have happened. And then I focused on this statement. I'm in my 60s, right? I focus on this statement, and I say this to myself, very simple statement about how incredibly awesome I am and how much of a success I am and what a big difference I'm making in people's lives. And every day I say this statement. And incredibly, as I get into my 70s, I realize I'm beginning to change lives. I'm beginning to impact lives. When people are saying, I'm a spent force, then people are getting drawn to me, and I say, wow, this is magic, because, you know, I'm going to live an incredibly exciting old age and die with a smile on my face.
Incredible indeed, thank you, David. And finally, Cobus. Cobus, I met my ex-future father-in-law for the very first time at Christmas dinner. I met my ex-future father-in-law at a Christmas dinner for the first time.
Talk about being in a predicament here. I mean, you go and ask his daughter for a hand in marriage, but you do it at the Christmas party. Seriously, what is going to happen if he says no? You're going to spoil the mood for everybody. So, obviously you're not going to ask it right there and then, are you? Me, I thought I was going to be otherwise, and I'm going to do it anyway. And guess what? He said no. He said no. That's why he's the father of my ex. But I am not concerned about that, because I got another opportunity later, not at the Christmas party, and I asked the question and got the blessings, and now I've been married for 8 years. Oh well.
happily married for 8 years.
I didn't say that.
I'm not putting words in your mouth. Thank you very much for this, and thank you to all the volunteers. For purposes of voting, just a reminder of who spoke and what they spoke about. A nay, it was the night before Christmas. Avi, how the fir tree became a Christmas tree. Wusi, I never played Father Christmas before. David, I didn't believe in miracles until. And finally, Kobus, I met my ex-future father-in-law for the very first time at Christmas dinner. So Toastmaster, back to you.
Thank you very much, Hugo. I think more than one of us today has been put on the spot with this table topics session. Me personally, I have actually stumbled on quite a bit there, which I wanted to say something different, but hey, it's over. Could everybody please complete their votes for the topic of the table topic speaker and hand it to our sergeant, please. Madam Timekeeper, may we please have the times for the table topics?
Certainly. NA was 1 minute 17 seconds. RT was 1 minute 20 seconds. Busi 2 minutes 23. David 2 minutes 25. And Kobus 54 seconds.
Thank you, Sergeant. We all know that to stay healthy, we need to drink 8 glasses of water per day. But unless it's a very hot day, I'm sure most of us find water a bit boring. But thanks to mixology, you can now get a mug that does not quite turn water into wine, but it does make it at least smell different and taste different. So it tricks your brain into thinking that you're actually drinking a juice. Meanwhile, you're just drinking water. Evaluations. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'm going to call on Harold, who will be facilitating our round-robin evaluation.
Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, a round-robin evaluation is where we're going to ask you to give the speakers feedback on their speeches. I'm going to ask the sergeant, which happens to be me as well. By the way, I've got multiple roles today, sergeant, evaluator, and if you'd come early, you'd have seen the broom that was waiting for me at the door as well. So I'm going to ask the sergeant to put some chairs out, and we're going to sit in front here, and then we will do the round robin, one speaker at a time. So if you just give me a minute to set up quickly. I'll leave with you now. Thank you. Now I'll ask the speakers to join me up here. All right. Adrian. What we'll do is we'll ask each speaker, I'm going to ask each speaker how it went for them. And when they've told us what they think, then we'll ask you as the audience to give feedback as well. If we start with Abrina's task, the project was researching and presenting. Member presents a well-organized, well-delivered speech. It may be humorous, informational, or any style the member chooses. The speech content and style should work well together. Sabrina, how did you find that went today?
It was nerve-wracking at the beginning, but as I got into it, it was flowing okay. It could have been better.
And how did you know it was flowing? What was your...
The nerves, I got a little bit, I saw a few smiles from the audience, so that helped with the nerves.
Okay. So when you started seeing reaction from the audience, it helped you?
Yes, it did.
Right. Okay. So from anybody, what did Sabrina do well today? Lynn?
Abrina, two things stood out. Well, I've remembered, which means they stood out. Your pauses were, I thought, outstanding. That kept me connected to you all the time. And I thought your personal examples of financial literacy, or not, were very useful. Yeah, just a personal sharing in relation to the topic you had to research. And your, yeah, I thought it was exceptionally informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Artie?
I think just the topic financial planning can be very boring. And what was brilliant is that you made it fun and exciting, especially when you spoke about the relationship with money and bringing in the family, the cousins, and all of the relatives. I think what's stunning is that you took the analogy of financial planning to a little bit of mind power, of how you can change your mindset about having a more abundance mentality. I enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Artie. I saw a hand.
Rina, what I remember most of your speech was the statistics. It was very sobering, and it shows that you've done quite a bit of research into this topic. Knowing that from all economically active people in our country, that it's an average of over 3 accounts, of which at least one has a judgment against it. It is very, very scary. Thank you for giving me nightmares.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going, right, last one.
What I remember from her speech was that she brought everything she told us about financial literacy. She actually brought it to life. You know, she brought real life stories into it, and certainly it was not a speech made in China.
What should Sabrina work on? Anybody got something that she should work on or to challenge herself more?
Sabrina, I noticed you relied a lot on the notes, which limited you in 2 areas. Your eye contact, because you had to spend a lot of time looking at the notes, and also there were 3 areas, your eye contact, your gestures, which were limited because of the notes, and also your flow movements. It would be great, or to challenge yourself, it would be great for you to perhaps try and rehearse it a little bit more so that you don't have to rely too much on the notes. I'd also like to recommend that instead of a notepad that you had, you could rather use cue cards, because when you turned the page, it was quite visible that you were turning the page and you lost yourself there a bit. But other than that, it was really great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You go. You had your hand up.
I'll let her go first.
All right. Being a gentleman.
So I would just like to add on to what Maud told us. As you know, I'm a person who has a stutter and I do use techniques. One of the techniques that is used is eye contact. And the reason it works is because it keeps you and your listener engaged. And that is also why the notes weren't working to your advantage, because it took away from that experience.
Okay, thanks, Anne. You go.
Officially ready now. Well done, Abrina. I do feel that you had a bunch of statistics right at the outset, and I don't remember half of them. I would have remembered 2 or 3 statistics, and those 2 or 3 statistics would still have been sufficient for you to drive your point home, right? Now, if all you had done was memorize 3 statistics, you wouldn't have needed to use the cue cards. And if you look at what you said in your own assessment, that as you progressed, you relaxed. You relaxed when you stopped reading and you moved away from the statistics that you're reading in front of you. My feeling is, if you knew those 3 stats, for instance, off the bat, right, then you wouldn't have had to look down. You would have been a lot more relaxed, and we would have been a lot more entertained, even though we were. So I think that discrepancy in how you started and how you ended is based on the fact that the latter part of your speech was off the cuff. You know, you weren't. I mean, you were relaxed. You were telling the stuff that you knew.
Thank you.
Last one, Dan.
Abrina, you had a great speech, and you told us the speech, you got to the end. I was looking for a conclusion that will link us back to the opening. Right? So, beautiful stats at the beginning, you could have introduced them. So you could have gotten to center is a fraud, etc., and then you're going to, that's why. Remember, one out of and a few of the statistics that could have helped us bring back to the beginning. So that's the other thing. I think it's a brilliant topic, made it fun, and that conclusion and linking back the beginning of the opening and the conclusion is actually quite important to cement the message.
Noted.
Do you want to give some evaluation on the evaluation?
No, I think it's valuable information that we'll implement.
Thank you. Well spoken, and thank you, everyone. Adrian.
Yes, I thought I had a good topic in terms of emphasizing the significance of being a Toastmasters and learning from people. I could pick mentors out there. And rather, I thought that was basically what learning is all about through Toastmasters. And then I was trying to contrast that with doing a standard executive skill course or something like that. So that was the kind of message that I was trying to get across. But I struggled. I realized I was running out of time, very quickly, and I couldn't sort of link really. That was my objective, to sort of emphasize the one thing rather than the other. And I know what I didn't do that I should have done. I've got it all down on paper, but I didn't do the rehearsing. Actually, rehearsing the speech there. But okay. I felt reasonably confident until the end, when I knew I was running out of time, trying to figure out up here as to how I could do it.
This Adrian's project was to talk about his own leadership styles, or leadership styles in general, and the speech may be humorous, informational, or any style the member chooses. So, besides the rehearsing, anything else that you can think of that you learned from the speech, or that you thought went well? Or?
As I said, I thought I had some good ideas there, but I felt that I should have worked on it and rehearsed it.
Okay. Right, thanks, Adrian. What did Adrian excel at? What went well, do you think? You go.
Adrian, one of the things that I admire about how you do your speeches is that you're very calm, you're very relaxed. So even if you're piecing together a bunch of things, you're going back to the lectern and you're coming back and so on, you're totally relaxed, you're unfazed by the audience, which I think is a powerful asset.
Okay, thanks. Anything else, Jan?
I actually think what Adrian did just now was tremendous. You know, the insight he had in his own speech. I think we can learn from each other, but if you can learn from yourself already before you leave the room, I think that's huge. So well done.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I like about the way Adrian presents his speeches, he's a professor, and the way he comes across as if he's lecturing to us as postgrads. Well done.
He's my drinking partner, you know.
You like being a postgrad? Right. I know.
Now, because Adrian and I are on exactly the same level, I have been keeping a really close eye on you and your speeches and your progress, because I am known to be a little bit competitive. And I would like to commend you because you have grown hugely between your icebreaker and this last speech. I believe one of the biggest wins or the largest areas of improvement is that you decided to not use any notes and you were talking off the cuff. So you believe that you weren't able to connect the dots adequately, but we weren't aware of that. To us, it was really good. Well done.
Thank you.
Dan, you had your hand up?
I really love the passion that came out of the person that Adrian selected to refer to as an example around leadership. And I think in Toastmasters it helps to believe in what you're talking about, and naturally the passion goes through. And almost I saw I would say 5-year-old being excited about somebody they really admire. So there was that energy, that passion that came through. I think that was through the selection of the topic. And that really was very impressive.
Thank you, Dan. Okay. And what can Adrian work on? Anybody got some ideas? Maud?
I have a few, but I'll just touch on one. Adrian, you started off with the note on your shirts with regards to light and the formula, and then you went into leadership. What would have been great is if you had tied in the example that you gave in the beginning, the strong introduction, to leadership. I don't know about the rest of the audience, but I was left wondering what the link was between the two. So if you would have tied those two together and then brought in the very same example that you used about light at the end to conclude everything, it would have been a great speech. But other than that, it was...
Yeah, that was the same comment that Harold wrote down for me as well, in terms of putting my shirt on really to get to the link with the message that was trying to get across. Thanks, Paul.
Sorry?
Quibbles.
Oh, Quibbles.
I'm happy to say I'm invisible, sir. Means my weight loss regime is working.
Don't worry, Madam on my right keeps telling me Kabos wants to talk.
Adrian, thank you for all the insight you've given us. The one thing that I did pick up is your topic that whether the leaders were made or whether they were born, and you concluded that primarily leaders are made, if I'm not mistaken.
What I tried to do at the end there was sort of, hold up the thing there. Basically, it's a combination of those three things together. And if you want to be a perfect leader, you've got to sit in that sort of middle area and decide whether you're going to be authoritative or whether you're going to just be democratic or laissez-faire or whatever.
So
but it obviously didn't come across that way.
As a nice touch, it would have been nice if you could have brought in the Toastmasters slogan, where leaders are made.
Yeah.
Would have been a nice touch.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
That one.
Well done.
You never know, I may have to give a speech like that again. That's a nice one. Okay, wish I had that.
Last one, David.
I mean, I was saying to myself, if I had the same topic as Adrian, how would I do it? So I'm talking about what I would have probably done would be to talk about the types of leadership at the beginning very briefly, but then look for 3 stories, 3 characters, 3 leaders. And they have these 3 powerful stories to illustrate what I believe good leadership is.
He did give 2, eh?
You gave 2.
Yeah, he gave his boss at the Chamber of Mines.
Yeah.
And then
Jeff
the
Bateman.
professor he worked for in the UK, the physics teacher.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, he wasn't my teacher, but I got to, you know, be much aware of it, Richard Feynman. But the point there is, you know, within the development of the bomb, you know, the overall was, what's his name, Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer, yeah.
Who was, I think, far more authoritative, and people would argue against him. He had those, eventually was, what happened to him in the end there, he was put on the list of not being a communist or something.
Yeah,
like that.
MacArthur.
Yeah.
McCarthy.
But I got the point there. It would have been good to...
I think it would have been quite nice if you put a label to their leadership
Yes,
style.
yes.
Yeah. Just to explain it to us. You explained it well, but I wasn't quite sure where you were going with it. You know, whether you were naming a leadership style or just telling us what nice guys they were.
That would, yeah, I agree. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Right, Adrian, do you want to give some feedback? Oh, last one. More, sorry.
If I just may, Harold, if it was a speech contest, you would have been disqualified because you did come in over time.
Yes, yes.
But I would like to just make a general recommendation, which I noticed in your speech and maybe for other speakers going forward with regards to visual aids. If you use any kind of visual aids, please make sure that they are visual. Because you used a visual aid in the form of a chart, a kind of a chart.
Yes, yeah.
But unfortunately, from where I was seated, I couldn't see it.
Okay.
So just for speakers going forward, if you're going to make use of it, if you're not using the projector and you're going to have something, either make it really big or write it out and let it be visible. Because then you lose your audience if we cannot see your visual aid.
Okay. Yeah, well, thinking about that, I could have used the thing you put the big, what do you call them? Not necessarily a projector.
A flip chart.
A flip chart, yeah. That would have worked for me. Yes.
Right, thanks, Paul. Right, any feedback on the feedback you got?
No, I'm very good. I was quite surprised that it was better than I thought it was going to be, honestly, because I really did think I messed up from the time-wise and trying to link things together there. But I certainly had some interesting comments going around there, and we're going to be competing, are we, to finish our level 2s?
Okay, well, it just shows we are our own worst critics.
Yes.
Well, well done, Adrian.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Johan.
Oh no.
Oh, yes. Shall I tell it? No, you tell us. How did it go?
Well, it went better than I expected. I left out a very important point, was my conclusion. I had a conclusion and I forgot all about that. I think age has something to do with that. And after all these years of standing in front of people and speaking, I still walk away with the shakes. Don't know why.
Maybe age has got something to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
Don't worry about that, Johan. Harold's breathing right down your neck.
Yeah. Holding on to you.
Well, there's a few others who aren't too far behind either. Don't go too long. Okay. What did Johan excel at? You go.
Magnificent storyteller.
Yes.
I absolutely love how you tell your stories. Very, very humorous. In fact, you say funny stuff and you pretend it's not funny, but you know you're going to be rolling in stitches.
Thank you.
I think that's... Then you also bring in a lot of history, a lot of education into the stuff that you tell us. So it's not just a story about stuff that happened, but you know, it was a 101 on how to make steroids after the meeting. You know, we can all, we can all do that. So I think there's great value in you standing up there and telling us a tale or two. So very well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you first walked in this club, and where you are now is unrecognizable. When you walked away earlier on, you said, I could have done better, and I say, you've done a lot worse.
Yes.
You know, well, yeah, I mean, as you said, you're your own worst critic, but you don't have to be, because my only regret is that it wasn't longer. And I believe that when you saw the red line at the end, maybe that's why you didn't have the conclusion in there. But I think it is very difficult for people to actually tell a story and paint a picture so we can see the picture. Most people tell a story, but we don't get a picture, we just get a story. And I think we clearly got a picture of this guy putting that stuff over his head. And that's an art that very few people actually have. So I think, you know, I love the whole speech, and I love the humor in it. It was a humorous speech, and it lived up to its name. So, you know, tremendously well done. And
thank you.
Congratulations.
Johan, besides always making us laugh, the amount of personal stories you put into your storytelling, it is making it very, very appealing to us. Having a humorous story, but it's not relatable to you, it's not the same as actually telling a story about yourself.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Was that a story or was it the real thing?
The real thing. And the villain is still alive.
I find that real. The good ones die first.
I would also like to add to that. Johan, I believe in your mind, you still think that you are a dashing young lad.
I wish.
And that is the picture which you have painted for us, and that's the way that I look at you. So very well done on
Thank you.
painting that picture.
Thanks, Annette.
There you go, young man. Anything that Johan can work on, challenge himself with? I'd like to see a few more pauses. I think Hugo put it quite nicely. He said you've got deadpan expression, you say it like it's not funny. And if you do that, I think then a pause is necessary.
Oh, yeah.
It almost gives the audience permission to laugh then. Because if you just carry on talking, then people know it's funny, but you're not giving them a chance to actually digest and enjoy it.
Okay,
Just use more pauses and longer pauses. That's any suggestion I've got.
So there is a school of thought, I can't remember if it was this Toastmasters Club or another, where a gentleman came in and he spoke about get rid of stuff that's bulging in your pockets and make sure that you have nothing in front of you or on you that distracts people. Now, obviously, as you're advancing with age, it's probably a little more difficult for you to stand. And there is a tendency that we focus on that. Now, my question is, and I stand to be advised, is there any value in actually having your walking stick or your crutch with you when you're out there? Would it make you more relaxed? Would it?
That's a good point. I don't really know. Probably, I think it might have detracted from what I was trying to bring across.
I offered him a chair. There's a stubborn old goat. But it's a good point. I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Dan.
It's more said in jest than anything else. Your speech was about speeding around, but you were still sitting at the same spot. I don't think you're able to run around as you used to.
No.
It's said in jest, but
taken.
Yeah. If you could have been interesting to see you kind of running around.
Dan, next street I'll have my roller skates on.
I'll get it to catch.
not putting black coffee and goo into our champagne today. Well done, Johan. Any feedback on the feedback?
No, the feedback, as always here, is to the point and very much appreciated.
Right, Johan, well done. That's the end of the evaluation session. You may come to me afterwards and evaluate what I did. You will not do it as a round robin at the moment. Thank you very much. But that's the end of the session. Thank you to the speakers for sharing that. And thank you to you for the evaluation that you've given as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for the session.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll hand back to our Toastmaster. Marion, thank you for your very incisive comments.
And our incisive note here keeps falling off. No, that's not even in context, never mind. It is a dark and stormy night. You are braving the elements and get into your car and drive to the agreed meeting spot. When you arrive there, you wait. The next moment, there's a knock on your door. One of your best friends is standing at your window. Yes, he sports a huge grin, and you know you've been pranked. You must have blabbered too much in one of your drunken stupors, and someone must have put one of these prank business cards under your door. Budget assassins. It's really not that hard. Call 1-800-KILL for cash. You can buy a pack of these fake business cards. 48 of them, in fact. With 12 different themes, 4 cards of each. And you can use those to prank your friends. Apparently it's a thing. Monica, may I please have the grammarian's report?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmasters. You have used 4 times word of the day. Hugo, you used magnificent, beautiful word. Abrina, adverse listening, FYI, convenient amnesia, beautiful. And Adrienne, you advise us to reflect on what we learn from other people. That's beautiful. Ion, I like the villain that is still alive. And that the other students were looking down on you and they despised you. And then you mentioned the present were neatly wrapped. Artie, your presentation was flawless and the vocabulary was rich. I could not take any, there was no any word that was better than the other. And Busi, your confidence, first timer, incredible, well done. And David, you used incredibly awesome, and you want to die with a smile. We all want to die with a smile. Harold, any feedback on the feedback? And Harold, Adrienne, Abrina, you used incisive words. Thank you.
are counter report.
Adrian, 1 an A, 1 so, 1 and Brucey, 3 arms, 2 off. Thank you.
You know that thing you do when you want to tell somebody to call you or that you will call them. Now, due to modern technology, it is actually possible to do that and really speak to someone. It is a Bluetooth glove that connects to your phone with a microphone in the pinky and a headphone thumb. Hello, how you been? I said I'll call you and I did. Now please, I want one of those for Christmas. Anybody? I think I've done everything I needed to do here today. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I am concluding my role as Toastmaster, and I'm handing it back to our President, Lynn. Thank you.
When last did we do a round robin, Harold? Also for me, I think it's the first one I've experienced. Thank you. It was incredible. I don't know, did anybody else like it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did much like it. I think that was incredible. Thank you.
We did one about 6 months ago, and I think it works very well.
Very valuable to have the different perspectives.
The nice thing for me about it is that from history that I recall, the VPE always has trouble finding people willing to evaluate. So that alleviates that burden. So I like it as well.
Yes.
What I'd just like to recommend is that even though we've done a round robin, that there is one member that is responsible for giving a written evaluation so that Abrina, Adrian and Eon can formally have an evaluation that they can put through.
From the round robin.
Thank you, Maud. Thank you.
Yeah.
You go?
I think for purposes of learning how to evaluate, it certainly softens the whole idea for people that are uncertain, because you do it as a group, and it works very well. I'd like to even suggest that we pencil it in to do it periodically, so every maybe third or fourth meeting, we insist on a round robin.
Thank you. All right. Maud, my apologies for overlooking you earlier. Please would you come up and share with us? Thanks. The beauty with doing what you did, Lynn, is that I was kept on my feet the whole time because I didn't know when you were going to call me, so well done. If I say good evening, can there be a fine? Because all the clubs that I go to meet in the evening, and I've got it in my head, good evening, but good morning, brunch and breakfast.
Morning.
It's such an honor to be here at your final event of the year. There are two things that I found quite commendable. There were three, but one has been brought up now with regards to the round robin evaluations. The good thing about the round robin evaluations for our guests is that feedback is a very important part of us as Toastmasters. And when we get to do it as a group, you might pick up something that someone else might not have, and that collective feedback is able to make our speakers better. So well done to the club for that suggestion. It's a really good one. Another thing is that it's the last meeting of the year, and we've got 18 of us in a room on a week that happens to be a long weekend. That is very commendable. I've been to quite a few clubs this week, and you were lucky if there were even 10 people in the room. So a round of applause, please. Another thing that I appreciated was that there was a lineup of speakers. Again, I've been to a few clubs this week, and people, they've literally landed. So to have 3 speakers at your final event, Pathways and Legacy, is great. So another round of applause to you. When message was today. I gave her a brief of what I wanted to speak about today, but I think today we're going to be really incisive. The room looks very beautiful, by the way. Fellow Toastmasters, whilst it's the end of the calendar year, for all the members of this club, you should be aware that it is the half year of Toastmasters. So technically, it's not the end of the Toastmasters year. For our guests, the Toastmasters year starts in July and ends in June. So we are halfway through the year. And when we're halfway through the year, it's a perfect time for you to do a review and an evaluation of the 6 months that were in your journey. What were the goals that you set out for yourself on the 1st of July? Now that it's, well, today's the 14th of December, did you achieve the goals that you set out for yourself on the 1st of July? If you had goals and you've reached them, then that's really great. But there are many of us, like myself, who did not reach the goal that I set out for myself. So the question I have for you is, why did you not achieve the goal? You don't have to give me an answer. And probably most importantly, what are you going to do to ensure that you not only reach the goal that you set out for yourself, but that you finish the Toastmasters year strong, come the 30th of June 2020. So that's something for us as we end this final event of the year to reflect on, so that when we come back in January, we come back fortified and strong and ready to take on the second half of the Toastmasters year. I have a few messages that I'd like to impart to all of you to this, I must say tonight, this morning, starting with you, Mr. IPP. There's something in Toastmasters called the curse of the IPP. What happens in Toastmasters is once the president is done with their tenure, it is goodbye, and you probably will never see them again. You are even fortunate if they stay as members. You, Mr. IPP, have not only been a long-standing member of this club even before there was Bryanston Breakfast, but you remain a very active member and a very active leader in this club, and I'd like to commend you for that. To the executive committee of this club, led by the lovely Lynn, I'd like to also commend, and you are here, Cobus is also here, I don't know if there's any other EXCO that are here in the room. I'd like to commend you for the energy that you bring to this club. Every time I come here, I am enlightened to find the energy being consistent. It's very difficult to keep the energy up, but you guys have done an amazing job, and I also want to commend you. To the members of this club, a fellow leader in Toastmasters said something very profound to me, and he said, it's very important that as Toastmasters you chase your investment. I'd like to encourage you all, as you go back and have your rest and come back in the new year, to chase your investment. Firstly, remember why you joined Toastmasters. And then ask yourself the question, am I where I want to be in line with the reason why I joined Toastmasters? Bearing in mind that we don't all join Toastmasters for the same reason. Some of us are here for personal reasons. Maybe you want to network, or you want to meet people, or you want to conquer your fear of public speaking, you want to build your confidence. That's a personal reason. Others of us want to develop ourselves in our careers. Maybe you're in a job that you need to give presentations, or you need to speak in front of people. Toastmasters can help you with that. For others that are not in careers or in business, they're entrepreneurs, you want to be able to confidently pitch to clients for new business. Toastmasters can help you with that. So whether your reason is personal, career, professional, or entrepreneurial, always remember why you joined, and make sure that you keep visiting that reason and keep in line with that reason. So be very active as members of Bryanston Breakfast. If you're not speaking, take up roles, but it's very important that you chase your investments and you actively participate in the success of this club. So that's to all the members. I've noted that there are still some members that are on the legacy program. Cobus, you are one of them. I'm here to just remind you that you have exactly 6 months, and the legacy program will be no more. Unfortunately, there will be no extension, so I'd like to encourage you to do as many speeches as you can and register the level that you are on. I think you're on ACP. ACP. I'd like to encourage you to complete your ACP in good time, submit it to your VPE so that you can get credits for it. Come the 1st of July 2020, we will all be on Pathways. And to the members who are yet to take on Pathways, I'd like to encourage you to adopt Pathways At least start with your icebreaker and get a feel of it. It's not the most user-friendly, but it's getting there. But I'd like to encourage you to adopt Pathways because from the 1st of July, we will all be on this new path or this new educational program or Pathways. And then lastly, I'd like to speak to our guests. Busi, you were amazing as a table topics. To come up here for the first time and to speak in front of a room full of people, I want to commend you. And I look forward to seeing you evolve as a member of Toastmasters. The theme of today's event is Strange Gifts. To all the guests, can I see who are the guests? David, I think you've just recently paid, so you're a new member. You're a member of North Riding? Is it just yourself, Busi? Is it only Busi today? And yourself. Sir, the theme of today's meeting is Strange Gifts. And I'd like to encourage you to give yourself that strange gift of a Toastmasters membership at Bryanston Breakfast. It's probably going to be one of the best decisions you'll ever make, because if you have any fear, whether it's public speaking, you want to build your confidence, you want to be able to stand in front of an audience and speak confidently, Toastmasters can do that for you. So why don't you give yourself the gift of Toastmasters?
Here, here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an honor being at your final meeting of the year. I look forward to working with you in the new year, and thank you so much for the opportunity to address you.
And thank you, Maud.
Thank you, Maud. Maud's going to stay up here because she's kindly agreed to hand over our awards for us. Before we go into the meeting awards, I just want to acknowledge the 6 people that spend every second Saturday morning in the kitchen, firstly setting up our room for us and cooking us a delicious meal. They're not aware of it now. I'm not going to ask them to come in here, but just so you know, we have given them, each of those 6 people, Jerry, Victor, Viola, Jarbu, Sam, Hendrik, a gift just in appreciation from all of us. If we just give them a round of applause. Big mugs. Anybody got any? Thank you.
Here we are.
Jan's got one there.
Oh, thank you. Could we have a drum roll, please? This is for table topics. Artie. Any pictures? Right, and for our best speaker, drum roll, please. The winner is So we're going to post for photographs.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Those are the only 2. If they thank you, I'll do the big bugs, and you just stand up here and listen to me reading all this stuff. Thank you so much. Oh, beg your pardon. Do that first. Fellow Toastmasters, I brought something that I wanted to share with Bryanston Breakfast. Every year in District 74, they have a challenge called the Golden Quarter Challenge. And that is a divisional challenge. As you know, we are part of division.
H.
They have a divisional challenge where each division is required to grow its membership, and the division that grows its membership by the highest percentage from the 1st of July to the 30th of September are crowned the winners of the Golden Quarter Challenge. And this year, I'm proud to announce that the winners of the Golden Quarter Challenge are Division H. And we were presented with this trophy, which we get to keep for the entire year. And I thought I would bring it to Bryanston Breakfast this morning. So a round of applause, please, to Bryanston. Thank you, Maud. Big mug. I can't read all of these things. So Harold, first calling you an old man, then turning around and saying he's a young man, then an old goat. I knew this was going to come up.
Make up your
Me
mind.
and my phone. The alarm sound. Purvis for getting order of speeches wrong. Hugo, don't worry, Johan. Harold is right behind you. For calling you, Hugo, me. My phone again. Maud referred to Adrian as Harold when giving Adrian feedback.
Look at the poor man, he's devastated.
Again, my telephone. Who said Santa's not real? Brina.
Things walk amongst us.
Someone called you the monster of ceremonies? He
called
called
himself.
himself.
He did
himself.
himself.
Oh, thanks, Sonia.
Yeah.
Again, my phone calling you Hugo. Again, calling you Hugo. Lucy, too skinny for Father Christmas. Oh my goodness, for calling you Hugo. Again, calling you Hugo. I'm in trouble. Who would like to give me the mug? I'll just take it.
Seeing as I'm always winning today.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you. Right. On Maddie's behalf, she normally does a call to action for the next meeting, which is on the 11th of January in 4 weeks' time. Who would like to present a speech? Hugo?
Yes, yes.
Purvis?
I'm already on.
Oh, you're already on.
Yeah, I was just going to confirm my space.
I'm putting my name down as well. And Harold. That's 4, but we are happy to have standbys. David, thank you. Things always happen between now and then. Okay, thank you. Role players. Anybody?
Yeah, I would like to give a speech on a standby.
Sure. Thank you. Anybody like to be Toastmaster? Ray. Table Topics Master. Thank you. Sabrina.
Good one.
Evaluation Chair. Anybody who hasn't, you're welcome to do it again, but if you haven't done it, I encourage you to take it on. Evaluation Chair. Okay, we'll come back to that. Anybody want to evaluate an individual speech? Johan, thank you. Okay. Grammarian. R. Timekeeper. Sergeant at Arms. Okay, we'll just assign as we do. Otherwise, thank you. All right, on a point. Anybody want to raise a hand?
Hi, Bryanston visitors, guests, members. 10 years ago, ago, you would not have recognized this lovely, confident lady standing right in front of me, because I've had a lifelong struggle with my speech. There's not enough known within this area to know what the real cause of this is. And because we don't know what's the cause, there is no cure. The only way that a person who stutters is able to overcome this is to retrain the way we learn to speak. 2 years ago, I came across the Maguire program, which many of you might recognize Gareth Gates in Idols. He was a person who had a stutter and he was miraculously cured. He was not cured. He just learned techniques on how to control this uncontrollable stutter. The Maguire course recommends that you join Toastmasters. This was so overwhelming to me that it took me a whole year to pluck up the courage to join a Toastmasters club. Many of you may know that I work at Standard Bank, and we've got our own club there, but I did not have enough courage and enough confidence to join the club, because I did not want my work colleagues to look down on me because of my speech impediment. 11 months ago, I came across the most amazing club. It's called Bryanston Breakfast Club. You guys might have heard of it. And I absolutely fell in love with the club, the people. I remember the very first time that Hugo came here, he commented on how nice and relaxing it was because we have a lot of green here. We've got sports guys here. It really just is such a lovely club. And because I was so in love with this club, I volunteered to be a committee member. What many of you do not know is that I actually did that for my own selfish reasons. I do apologize. Part of the Maguire program requires that you practice every day. This might entail various breathing exercises, practicing your techniques. One of the ways you can achieve this is with phone calls. So the committee members were absolutely shocked when I told them, please put my name on all your official correspondence. I want to be your contact person. And I've absolutely loved this role because now I have people calling me to help me with my speech practice. And as a result, I've met many wonderful people along the way. I believe we've already spoken. I've met quite a famous journalist as well, and I liked her so much that I call her at least once a month. She hasn't yet made it to the club, but I'm going to get her here. So it is with much happiness and regret that I can tell you that I've reached my goal within the Maguire program. I now believe I have a very good control over my speech, largely thanks to this very supportive club, the amazing leaders we have, Johan and Harold and Adrian. I know you guys get teased because you're old, but you've got a wealth of knowledge to share, and we learn so much in each and every meeting. as I've now achieved my goal, I've had to make a very selfish decision. My ultimate goal is I would like to be an ambassador within Toastmasters for all people with speaking disabilities. Because if I can do it, so can everybody else. But the only way that I can achieve this goal is if I can do it. I therefore need to make a very selfish decision, and I need to resign my role as BPM so that I can focus on my own pathways. I have been attending our Hannah Bank Club. 3 months ago, I plucked up enough courage to start attending the meetings. Harold was very instrumental. I think you had a 1-hour call with me on the day when I was attending my very first meeting. So this is the kind of support that this club gives you. So I have found my second home there, and it's really so easy and convenient because the one meeting is in lunchtime, the one meeting is directly after work and works life. Although I will be transferring clubs, this is not the end of me. I've built up a lot of good, strong relationships, and you guys are always welcome to reach out to me. I will always be a part of the Toastmaster community, and I will still be a guest of this club, so this is not the end of it. But I did want to say a thank you to each and every one of you, because you've all contributed to where I am today. Thank you very much.
Anybody like to give any feedback to Renee?
All I picked up is that it's Harold's fault she's going.
She mentioned Joan as well.
Oh, blame me. Cool.
Yes. And all the old folk as well. I like that.
Wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, we're going to miss you. You've been a wonderful member.
Oh, thank you. I'll miss all of these.
Oh, thank you.
I know the first time when I came here and you told me that you had a stutter, and yes, I noticed that you were the BPM. It came as a surprise to me, but I've seen you evolve over the months, and what you've said is the truth, that you've really evolved as a person, and that's probably the most important gift that you can give yourself. I wish you well on your journey. William Shakespeare says, "To thine own self be true." And I know you've got to that point where you want to be true to yourself. The beauty about the situation for all the other Toastmasters is it presents, whilst it's a loss for Bryanston Breakfast, it's an opportunity for another member of this club to rise to the call for leadership. Toastmasters is not only where public speakers are made, but also where leaders are made.
Yeah.
So I'd like to encourage every single member of this club to perhaps speak to Lynn or to Harold or possibly to even Anae about the role, and think over the holidays about taking up the role as Vice President of Membership. Whilst it's not for the full term, it is 6 months, so you could give it a shot and see if you like it, and maybe in the new tenure, which starts on the 1st of July, you can decide that you would want to take up the role. But the opportunity does exist for a member to rise to the call for leadership, because at Toastmasters, it's definitely where leaders are made. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Although it probably wasn't a project that you can bank on this project, because I think this probably is somewhere where you're allowed to inspire an audience. Your speech was very inspirational. You probably made all the objectives. So if there is a project somewhere that you can tick off, there's one of those. So it was a very well prepared speech, very well structured. It rekindled the reason why I joined Toastmasters. So when something makes a difference in your life, it probably will make a difference in someone else's life. And great inspiration in your speech. Well done.
I can tell you something about Anne. Give her some advice, she does it.
Yeah.
Now, some people think about it and never do it. She just does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's scary because not all the advice is always good.
Especially coming from Harold.
Congratulations on those achievements that you shared with us now. I'm scared to speak too much because I'm sad you're going.
Yeah.
But you'll come back and visit us. Thank you for your enormous contribution. And we were so taken aback when you said, please, can I be a membership? And just the most enormous respect for that bravery. Well done. Thank you. Thank you.
Well done.
Right, I think we were probably out of time. We're meeting again in 4 weeks' time
Yeah, 11th.
on the 11th of Jan. Wherever you find yourself, whatever you do, however you do it, may peace of mind be your constant companion. Thank you for being here with us, and with that I call the meeting to a close.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love it if we could take a picture with the Golden Quarter Trophy as a club.
Oh, sure.
Thank you so much.
And the pub is open for post-toasting
Yes.
if anybody.
Yes, yes, yes. Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Gather around, please.
Yes, no members, please. Oh, everybody.
Yes,
Everybody. Everyone is here.
You're going to take a picture, Dad?
Yeah. Just give me prepare your phone and then.
Please come have a pic. Everyone.
I could also have a look at my phone.
He's just showing him what to do.
I'm here.
Please make sure you can see Dan very well, which means he can see you.
I think the trophy is so high, lower it a bit down, otherwise I can't do it. So I'm being a photographer. I think, yeah, I've got Rodney, I've got everybody eager. So all we need is just a big smile. 1, 2, 3, smile. Just keep smiling, I'll probably take 200 pictures, just in case it happens. Okay, 1.
Thank you. Thanks,
No,
Dan.
don't move, there's one more.
One with Dan.
Photographer.
Come here again.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Start smiling and don't stop. Okay.
Okay, good.
Wonderful.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
Most handsome, dashing young lad.
Careful, you'll miss the and all of the